Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Are we on? Are we on? Are we on? Are we live on LinkedIn Live? Unmute yourself. Episode one, show one. Is it happening on today? Let's see. Let's see. Are we everywhere that we need to be right now? Welcome, everyone, for joining. I am excited. I am excited. I'm hoping that we are all set and all live. If not, we'll work through it. We will work through it. Thank you for joining. Yes, I believe we're live on LinkedIn. Let's see why we are not live on LinkedIn. Let's see. Let's see what's going on here. Figure it out. Okay. Thanks everybody if you're joining from YouTube. That is. Oh, we live now. We're live on LinkedIn. Hello. Hi, LinkedIn friends. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Unmute Yourself with Rhonda Khan. I am so thrilled that you are here. This is our very, very first LinkedIn Live in 2025. In 2025, please, 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 please let me know where you're coming from in the chat. I can't see the chat right now, but we're going to figure it out. Yes, here I am. Come on. Hey, Nana. Hey, Geneva. I see you all. Okay. We're in here. We're in here. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Rhonda Khan, and I am the CEO of Simply Speech Solutions. I'm a public speaking coach, former actor, speech language pathologist, and I now train speakers and leaders and teams to use and activate their unique gifts. I have run this business for nearly 8 years. I have been a speaker and a podcast host, and now I'm stepping here on the LinkedIn Live stage to share some truth with you. Yes, yes. Let me know where you're coming from in the chat. What city, what state, what you're doing on this Wednesday morning, afternoon, probably if you're on the East Coast. All right. Yes. So today, we will talk about retiring authenticity. I know, I know, I know, I know. Retiring it. First thing I want to let you know is that there is a reason for this. You may anticipate, but I want to know what you think about the word authenticity. So let me know in the chat what comes up for you when you hear the word authentic or authenticity. What comes up for you? Let me see it. Let me see it. Let me get into this chat and see what y'all talking about. I am thrilled. Let's see who else is here. Hey, L'Oreal, come on, come on. All right. Let's hear what we're talking about with authenticity. I want to know some of your thoughts. We'll see those as they come through. So let me break it down. Over the past decade, if not longer, I feel like we have heard this message of authenticity as being a freeing and liberating space of, hey, what you really need to be is authentic. Be your authentic self. Bring your authentic self. Uh, at first, I believe this was refreshing. This was affirming. This was like, hey, I can still be me and do a good job. I can still show up. All my quips and quirks, welcome. Yes, yes, yes. And I myself have even latched onto this word, taught people this word. When I first started my business, maybe in the first 2 years, I would say the tagline, I teach you how to speak with confidence and authenticity. It's cute, right? It sounds good. I like it. I still kind of like it. But if you know what I know, and I know you know what I know, this is not the whole truth. And this frame And we're back. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back up? Listen, so this is a great note I tell a lot of my clients all the time. The tech will fail you every time. All right. So I don't know what's going on my internets, but we are back and I'm jumping right back in. So, what we were talking about is authenticity and how that framework doesn't always serve us, right? First, I think that most people are not exactly sure what authenticity actually is. What authenticity actually is. Okay. And I think that we think that it's without any limitation or restriction. Like I can just show up and be and do however I am here, I can be here and I can be there and I can be there. And somehow, magically, folks will still accept me and love me and appreciate me and all that good stuff. And yeah, I think that is the hope, but that is not the reality. As I began to work and learn and listen, I realized that authenticity, while extremely endearing, is simply not for everybody. We are in an era where simply acknowledging that being different, being yourself, being whatever from background group you belong in, is not always great. People are not exactly in agreement, and you know what I'm saying, that we should have a workforce that looks like the rest of the country, or that everyone should have opportunity or access to success, or that people should be able to show up and belong and feel seen and heard. Everybody doesn't agree with that, and everybody doesn't support that. And we spend a lot of our time in the places that we work or whatever we show up. And I believe that for most of the time, being authentic while the intent is there doesn't fully support how folks want and need to show up. So I'll tell you what, my clients who are often top leaders in their industries or they're training top leaders in their industries, I'm constantly hearing this conversation, how they struggle with being authentic in environments that don't always welcome them. These are people who are very excellent at what they do. They are still being told, hey, you need to adjust your tone. Still, your leadership style, your energy, or my favorite, and those who know I how I feel about this phrase, executive presence. Okay. So when we try to be authentic, the reality is we are not received in the same way. That's a fact. Now, I know there's a little bit of delay on LinkedIn, but I want to know how you all are receiving this. And let me see if we can get back to where we were, because I know we had a freeze moment. Let me see if we can get back to where we were. Yeah. Let me know how you're feeling about this conversation. So, yeah, yeah. So when we try to be authentic, we are not always received in the same way. And sometimes we are harmed or retaliated against instead. This is why I believe authenticity needs to be retired. We got to release it from its duties. We appreciated you, we appreciated the good feelings, we appreciate the vibes, but I think we need to move beyond this word entirely. Now, perhaps you are saying, hey, Rhonda, I hear what you're saying, but I don't want to not be myself. I don't want to show up as anybody but me. I don't want to feel like I have to continue to contort and restrict myself. I don't want to be fake. I don't want to mask. Code switching is demoralizing. I want to relax my face. I don't want to smile. I'm exhausted. I am not saying you do any of these things. I am against all of those things, in fact. But what I'm asking for you to do, instead of aiming for authenticity, I want you to try to be intentional. Intentional instead. Being intentional gives you a choice. You get to choose. It requires thought, it requires self awareness, it requires understanding your audience and what you want them to do or feel. And it takes a lot more power away from everybody else and back to you. It requires some self appreciation. What are your unique skills, gifts, qualities, even things you don't enjoy that's like a only you thing? And it requires all of that. And you get to decide which parts of yourself do you bring forward in each situation. So it's not being somebody else, it's being intentional and choosing with boundary. It doesn't mean hiding who you are, it doesn't mean being someone else. And to me, I believe this is more powerful than a fluffy, sparkly, authentic self talk. All right, I got to hear how y'all resonating with this. Uh, I'm having a little bit of delay on the LinkedIn, and that's okay. But I hope y'all in here is telling me something because I think that this is going to really transition the way you start to think about how you show up. Yeah, yeah. So I want to give you an example. At Simply Speech Solutions, a big part of our work is providing training for companies. So, one of our offerings is a cohort training where we take a group of people and perhaps they have a similar leadership level or skill set or a particular population that the company wants to focus on. And we take this group and we take them on a journey, and I train them based on what skills they need. So there was a company that I had a cohort of 6 women who were very high visible leaders. And I'm saying these were women who were spokespeople of the company, which often happens in leadership. They are being sent out for major keynotes, paneling, showing up at this and that, interviewing major world leaders, politicians, activists, celebrities, and their work was really powerful because they're literally changing and saving lives with the work that they were doing. So, one of the members from my cohort reached out to me privately, and I just adored her, and she did a tremendous job in this work, and she wanted to share some feedback that she had received from leadership. And the feedback was that when she used the phrase, it was not received the way she intended. And that phrase was, let me be clear. What she was told was that when she said, let me be clear, that she was seen as she was talking down to people. Now, when she told me this, she was like, I know some microaggressions are at play. I know this is, what it is, but I do want your feedback as my coach, as my instructor. Like, is this how I'm coming off? Is this incorrect? So if you know about working with me, I'm never going to tell you that something you're doing or saying is wrong. What I will tell you is let's explore this, let's process what's really happening. The first step we did, we acknowledged that, okay, there are likely some cultural misunderstandings in play. Yeah, there's some misunderstandings. I am a speech pathologist in graduate school. I did research on cultural differences in communications. We tell stories differently. We do all of these kinds of communication ways differently, and often they're misunderstood if there is not cultural competence in play at these places. I wonder why we need that. And yes, microaggressions and misunderstandings always exist. So I was like, okay, this is in the room. So let's acknowledge this. The second thing I asked her, I was just like, when you're saying this phrase, what is your intention in saying this phrase? Are you trying to clarify what you're saying because you're feeling like maybe I wasn't clear before, I need to be clearer? Are you trying to clarify them? What is it? And I don't want to answer that because I'm not there. I want you to really think about it. And if your intention, whatever it may be, is not communicating to them, is there a different way to communicate it so they understand you, right? And for everyone to be on the same page, not to change who you are, not to police your tone, not to reduce the things that make her wonderful, but let's think about what is actually happening. And then finally, I affirmed with her that there is nothing wrong with what you're saying. And I told her, when we get feedback like this and it's difficult, let's process what's happening. Let's first thank them for the feedback. And I have to be honest with you all. Those who know me personally know this. I could be a little bit passive aggressive. I'm pretty good at it because I work in words. So I'm like, thank you. Oh, that's great. I'm not saying I told her to do that, but that's in my mind. But I'm like, just don't give this energy. Do not internalize this feedback and do not admit error because there is no error. Keep your power. But instead, how you stay self-aware is really process that. The second part of the intentional part for her is to have the self-awareness to appreciate where she is. One of the things that we talked about a lot in the program was that she is extremely passionate, and that is a gift. When she speaks, people are quiet. They listen, their hearts, their bodies, their minds are moved to action. She has that thing. We all have different things that we have. That's her thing. And I said, what we're not going to do is have you stop being passionate and stop being honest. That's your value. And this will determine how you show up. But what I want you to do is ground yourself in how can you still be that and make sure that the audience is understanding and seeing where you're coming from. This is being intentional. So I don't know what she did. Perhaps she used the phrase still. Perhaps she chose another way to communicate. But either way, that processing and that self reflection and being audience focused, that's what we really want. That is intentional. And I think it's also a way to take back control and reaffirm yourself. But before I talk about how to really do this, I really want to hear from you. I am bummed that there is a lag in LinkedIn. I don't know who's here. I don't know who's commenting. I know there are 5 people here. I'm going to refresh real quick so I can see some comments because we need to engage. We need to hear what y'all are saying. Thank you, Jessica. Great insights. I'm seeing you. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, and I wanna know, is this relatable? Have you experienced any type of conversation like this? Is this familiar to you? From who's in here, I think you may have, but I wanna, who's in here, I'm saying generally, but I really wanna know how this resonates with you, the authenticity versus intentionality, because I think it's really, really important for us to think through this. I think it's unfair to ask and assume that everybody can show up as their authentic self. And I think we still don't really know what authenticity is, right? So I want to tell you how you do it. How do you show up and be intentional? If you are a leader in any type of organization, whether you are a speaker and thought leader in your own right, or you're working for a company, you have already done some of this. So I am not necessarily telling you something new, but I'm giving you a framework to move through this. First step, you're going to identify all the parts that make you you. Really sit down and do this. Like, really think about it. If you need to ask someone for feedback, feel free to do that. But I want you to explore, what are all the parts that make you who you are? Are you really data driven? Like, do you like to speak in numbers a lot? Are you a great storyteller? Do you love the anecdote on the story? Are you a long-winded person on the long-winded team? That's me. That's me. You're gonna get a long Rhonda story at any point in time. So don't expect a short story. It's gonna be a long story short, long. Are you really serious? Because that's okay to be very, very serious and straightforward. Do you like to make off-color jokes? Do you have a way of charming people? There was one cohort I had, and I helped somebody identify. We were going through this activity, and she was saying how her being charming, because she's very much in a male dominated field, she was saying how her being charming was a negative because she's like, people don't take me seriously, and I feel like they want to give me a hug, but they don't. And I'm like, that's a gift. There are a lot of people that are uncharming and unapproachable and not warm. And imagine how you can use that to your advantage of being charming and being able to connect with anybody and being able to instantly warm and disarm people. So really start to think through all of those different things about yourself. Even if you don't like them, maybe there's something that is good about it that you don't know. The second step, step 2, is to think about your audience. This varies depending on what you're doing. And this could be formal or informal. It could be I'm about to have a conversation, or it could be I'm stepping on the stage to do a keynote. But you think about what you want them to do or feel. Like, what is the goal in this conversation, in this keynote? And when they're done, what do you want them to do or feel? What's the end result? And really think about it. You have to really know your audience to think about that. And this should not be about you. This should be about their impact. And then we go back to you, right? We go back to you. And when we go back to you, we think through, what parts of me do I need to bring forward in order for this audience to do or feel that thing? Do they need my passionate side? Because what I'm talking about is not a joke. We are in all of the unprecedented times, and I really need to bring that passion and bring that charge to them. Do they need some softness? Because that's a part of me. Do they need my softness? Do they need me to really, be straightforward and data? Do they not care about that fluffy part? Doesn't mean that part of you is not important, but is that what you need to bring forward? And this is how you can be intentional. You're still you. This is all still you, but you're being self-aware, you're audience focused, and you're deciding what parts to bring forward. So I'm gonna check in with the chat and see what you all are saying. It's going a bit slow, but I would really love to hear your feedback on this. Your feedback on this, your thoughts on this. So, yeah, in closing, in closing, and I really don't want to close, but I want to tell you that I'm not saying that authentic is a bad word. I'm not saying that you shouldn't show up and be who you are, but I'm saying what is most powerful is being intentional. What is most powerful is bringing all those parts forward and really knowing your audience. So I thank you so much for joining me. I will be doing this once a month and maybe sooner. I kind of liked it today once we figured out the tech situation. I thank you for joining me. And I want to pose a question to you that you do not have to answer right now, but I want to know, how will you show up? How will you be intentional on today? Do you have some meetings coming up today that you need to really figure out what parts of me are necessary to bring forward? Do you have a keynote you're preparing for? Are you talking to leadership on today? Whatever it is, I want to know how you will be intentional. If you don't tell me now, you can tell me later. You can always email me at Rhonda@simplyspeechsolutions.com. If you'd like to work with me, I do take one-on-one clients on a limited basis, but most of our work right now is with companies and teams. If you want to learn more about the team training, we just dropped in a link about our team trainings. But overall, I want you to show up, be intentional, and really impact your audience. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.